Okay, for my latest project, I decided to make a special gift for a friend of mine who's expecting twins. So I made a baby album. But because she's expecting twins, I've actually made this as two books in one. One side of the book is for one of the babies, the other side of the book is for the other baby. I have no idea whether she's having girls, boys, or one of each. So what I decided to do in terms of the color scheme was to keep it fairly neutral. But I made it in very bright colors so that it'll stand out. The cover, start with the cover, how I made this. If you've seen some of my previous videos, what I use is the Cricut to cut out the basic pages and cover pages. But because I want them to be a little stiffer, I do a laminating process where I take a piece of heavy cardstock and layer it between two pieces of patterned paper, and I use my Xyron for that, and maybe in a future video I'll show you the process that I go through that. And then I use the heavy-duty blade and repeat cuts with the Cricut to cut the whole thing out, and I find that gives me a much more substantial book. I also use the cinch, as you can see, for each side. So I've created what's known as a gatefold type of booklet. On the cover, I've also included two little nameplate panels. This is for the mother-to-be, so she can write in the names of the babies once they're born. So one half will be for the one baby, and the other half will be for the other baby. Also in the middle, I've cut out 3 butterflies, and I've used a similar technique as I did with the cover. I laminated them, but I used, instead of using paper, I used wallpaper samples. A friend of mine got me a whole bunch of those wallpaper sample books that have been discontinued and were just going to go into the garbage. So I got a hold of them, and they're great because the paper that's in them is almost a vinyl-like texture, so it's very durable. And the reason I put them in the center here is because of the construction of the book. I have a gap in the middle, and this sort of just serves as both a closing and covers up the gap. So when you open this up, you can see that we have 2 sides. So basically it's 2 books in one. However, both sides are exactly the same. So all the information that's contained in this booklet is also duplicated in this booklet. The first page, I have a little card, and it's a vintage style, and you'll see throughout this book that I've used some vintage style graphics from old baby books that might have been around in the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s. Easy enough to find these. Just go into Google, do a search under vintage baby books or vintage baby pictures, that kind of thing, and go into images, and you'll come up with all kinds of these things. And that's where I got these. So this is a fairly standard a birth announcement for the book. It's got a place for the name of the baby, their weight, when they were born, who they were born to. And I cut this out. I printed it out on my color printer, and then I cut it out, and I used a decorative corner punch to create a frame for this card, and I duplicated it over here as well, and mounted it as the first page. On the next page, I simply made a pocket in coordinating cardstock. I used a little washi tape along the edges here just to finish it off. And inside is a little booklet where the mother can put some photos of newborn, maybe some of those photos you get at the hospital when they're first born, that kind of thing. And it just tucks right in here. Now the next page, oh yes, and you can see the butterfly theme throughout as well. Again, I used the cutout of a butterfly, and this is done on chipboard with some pattern paper done to it, and I raised it with a pop dot to give it a little bit of dimension. So on the next pages we have another one of these vintage plates, and I used a different kind of corner punch to create a decorative border around it. And this one just says baby gifts, so it's a place where she can record any of the gifts the baby get when she first brings the baby home from the hospital, or from maybe one of the showers that she's had. And again, I created a pocket, and on the card that slips in here, this is just cards and wishes. Again, another one of those vintage photos, and just a place where she can list all the kinds of things that she may get from friends and relatives when the babies first come home. Again, you can see the butterfly theme. This butterfly actually is hand painted using smooches. What I did was I stamped it in Stays-On ink, cut it out, and then I colored it in with the smooches. And the smooches give it a bit of a glimmery shine to it, and I mounted it with some dimensional dots as well just to raise it up as a decoration for the pocket. The next page, this is simply a weight chart from the first week right up into the first year. Again, another one of those vintage type things that I found on Google. I did another kind of cutout as a frame and add a little bling to it with some stickles, not a Sizzix. And the pockets on this side, again, I embellished the edges of the pocket with washi tape. I cut out a little flourish using the Cricut, mounted that on the pocket. And in here is another little booklet that that pictures can go in. And this one is on a brad, so it all just folds out, little eggs or ovals, whatever, and you can stick pictures in there, or you could do some journaling, I suppose, as well. To create the background, I don't know if it'll show up on the camera or not, but what I did was a technique that I've learned from Tim Holtz. So I cut out the shape with the Cricut first as the background, and I used the Tim Holtz Distress ink pads to give it this pinky purpley kind of color, but I don't know if it shows up on the camera. It may not, but it's all kind of wrinkly and distressed looking. And again, what I did was before I applied the ink, I wetted the whole piece of paper, crumpled it up in my hands into a little ball very carefully so it didn't rip because it was pretty wet, unfolded it carefully, flattened it out, and then I took the ink pad and just stamped all over it to give it that color. And I went a little darker on the edges to give sort of a border. And then I just took an iron. And I don't suggest that you use the iron you use for your regular clothing because you might transfer ink and that kind of stuff onto your clothes. I just bought a cheap iron, most basic one you can buy at Walmart. And using my Tim Holtz craft sheet, which is heat resistant, I just lay it down on top of that and press it with the iron. And that smooths it out but leaves the wrinkles. And the little wrinkles in that pick up the ink, so they're a little darker and a little lighter depending on how raised it is. It just gives it a nice little distressed look, and I'm really big on the distressed look. Attached it all together with a brad and tied a little bow out of coordinating ribbon to the top of it, and it just fits right in there. These next pages, a little bit more elaborate. What I did here was I placed a pocket on either side, used the washi tape on the edge again, but these little cards are meant for journaling, or you could put pictures on them. And where these came from are from the Smash albums. Now, you're probably familiar with the Smash albums. Smash albums are sort of a place where you can collect all kinds of things. Here's one here. This is my Smash album. They're commercially made, and basically they're like a little scrapbook already pre-made, but you can stick whatever you want. This is my creative journal, actually, and I have it listed by all kinds of different projects and whatnot. That's where I keep my notes on ideas that I get for things I want to do with scrapbooking and my other hobbies. But what you can also buy, along with these Smash journals, are these little pads. And these little pads look like this. And there's different themes. This one happens to say something like travels and voyage. And there are all these little cards that you can write on, and you can pull them out of this album and then stick them in your Smash journal. But they have quite a few of these. There's quite a variety of ones you can get. And so instead of really reinventing from scratch these little cards to write on, what I did was I took some of the pages out of the Smash album pads and I scanned them. And then I printed them at whatever the size that I wanted for this. And on these ones, I had people in my life, a few interesting facts, and childhood pals. I just added an eyelet in the corner for each one for reinforcement more than anything else, and a coordinating ribbon. And so these are an opportunity for the mom-to-be, or mom, I guess by the stage she gets this at, to write any notes that for the babies to capture memories. Now this little thing right here is another little mini album within the album, but this one, as you can see, all folds out. I think it's kind of neat, And again, this could be for journaling, this could be for pictures. I put in a little frame on each page. I learned this from someone on YouTube. You know, YouTube is excellent for all kinds of album ideas. How to put this together, it was really easy. And, well, just folds right up. Things in the right spot. Okay, we'll try this again. All right, there we go. And then I embellished it with another butterfly cut out of pattern paper and a circle, scallop circle. And I adhered it right to the page with the ribbon underneath. And then you just tie it up. And there you go. And I did some stamping on here as well with love on either side. And you know, at first it bothered me because if you see up here, I got a little bit of an ink blot from this particular stamp. These particular stamps were not really expensive ones. And sometimes I find the less expensive stamps don't have quite the height on them from the mount. And if you're not careful, if you push down too hard, which is what I did, you get a little bit of the block outline. But you know, I didn't worry about that because I think it kind of adds to the distressed look. And that's what I've been going for throughout this whole album. So I just left it. On the next page, we have a little pocket. Again, this is the library card cut out from Cricut. And I made it a little bigger than its standard size to hold my tags. Did it out of pattern paper, mounted it to the page. Again, I love washi tape. I think this stuff is really neat, and so I collect it wherever I can find it. I especially like this type because it had the butterflies again in it, which is, I said, is sort of the theme throughout the whole book. And then I created these tags. Now, how I created the tags that went in there, I used another Tim Holtz product. I basically used his colored stains that he has. They're great. They're like the ink pads, except they come in a little bottle, and I'll show you one. That's what they look like, distress stain. And you just take them, they have a little dabber kind of top to them, and you just take it and you just all over across the card. Very easy, and it gives it that background. And then what I did was I took some butterfly stamps, and with StazOn ink again, I just stamped randomly on the card, and then to color them I used the Tim Holtz distress markers. I've got the whole set. Can you tell I like Tim Holtz? I like him a lot. I love his stuff. Anyways, that's what I use just to color in, and it gives them a really nice watercolor effect. And you don't have to worry too much about staying in the lines, because I kind of like the smeared look a bit, because it looks like then that it's been sort of hand done, and it gives it a nice watercolor effect. And what you can do with the colors to blend them is just take a water brush. They're the ones that, or they call them an aqua brush. You put a little water in a plastic tube that's attached to, and it has a brush on the end, and you just wipe across. And it sort of blends the colors and gives it that, you know, smeared sort of watercolor effect. And then, of course, I just tied the ribbons to them. Now, on the back, you can do some journaling, because what I did is I left the backs blank. And to reinforce it, actually, I just cut out another tag, the same size, and I just glued it right to the back of this one. Gives it a little bit more substantial weight. And so she can write on these if she wishes. And then I used some coordinating ribbons. So they just slip right back in there, like such. And with the ribbons, too, what I did on most of the things... Okay, where's the other one? I buried that one. I just let the ribbons hang out of the book. I think that adds to the whole overall effect when the book is closed. On this side, I created two pockets using paper, just glued it across the strip just to make two levels. And again, cut this shape out with the Cricut. Use the same technique as I used on the backgrounds on that oval album to give it that distressed look. Add a little bling. Can't know if it shows up in the camera or not, but a little bling with the stickles. Cut out a background, and again, another place for photos or journaling. And they just tuck right into here. And I did a little bit of a stamp technique down here, what I do without you, what would I do without you, is what it says. So maybe a bit of a journaling prompt. Moving on. Again, another one of these vintage pages that I found on Google. This one says the first step, a lock of baby's hair, and I created another pocket, only this time I created a vertical pocket. Put some butterflies on it. And again, these are some more of those Smash album paper pads. And I scanned these, the highlights, a day in the life of, major milestones, and printed them out the size I wanted them. And I kept these ones fairly simple. I didn't add any ribbon to this. And they just tuck right in here. The last page opens up to the solid back page of the whole book that keeps everything together. And you notice I put our family tree graphic on there. Here's a place where the mother can record the names of the father, herself, her parents, his parents, and whatever other generations out, which will be kind of nice for the children when they get a little older to know their roots and their ancestors. And in the little pockets that I created here, again, more washi tape, another butterfly, I created a little mini booklet, again using the Cricut. I forget which one I used for this. I did some distressing with black ink around the edges. Create this label, it says Family Notes. And actually, this little label, I created using my, right here, using my P-Touch. And this particular P-Touch allows you to create borders. This one's a leaf border, if you can see that. I don't know how well the camera's picking that up. Inside has a couple of pages. I just cut the same shape a couple of times over, folded them, and then I just bound them. I put 3 holes in here, into the seam all the way through, and just using some twine, black twine, I just ran it through with a darning needle, put a knot in it, and there you go. Little booklet. And the same on this side. And they fit in the little pocket. So, that's my baby album for twins. And I hope she likes it. It's definitely unique. My next big problem is going to be finding a box that this is going to fit in. And I want to make sort of a decorative box. So there it is. So I appreciate your comments when you see this, and thanks a lot for watching.